afraid.
I'm gonna read all of them.
Don't be. It's like 1,000 pages.
No big deal.
Cliff notes.
I was asked to speak about climate action and our planetary emergency, and I've written, of course, a lot about that. And we've all been living through that in our own lives and in our awareness of the world around us. And in my most recent book, which is kind of the third book in a trilogy, sort of, at the top of the other two, Secret Engine of the World, further notes on primal reality, Gaian politics, and the arc of human evolution. I articulated 3 deadlines that would kind of define the next decade for me, for anyone who resonated with my perspective. And the first 2 were the 2022 U.S. elections in November of this year, which just occurred, and then the elections in November 2024. We're not going to go into any of that here. But the third deadline, third of the 3, was kind of an arbitrary date that I set, which was 10 years from the publication of Secret Engine of the World, for the planetary emergency, for the climate crisis, for what we face as a species, and along with all the other species that we have endangered with our genius and our foolishness. So now it was 10 years when the book was published, but the book was published last year, so now it's 9 years. So I say this to you, and not, it's very important. You know, I spent maybe 20, 30 years trying to scare people about climate change, because that was the appropriate thing to do at the time, was to scare people in power so that they might come to understand what we were trying to tell them. And you know, Cassandra, those with reasons not to listen, don't listen. And of course, I was right, we were right, whatever. Now I find myself trying to calm people down and not reassure them at all, but to make people feel like there is hope. There is some way forward. You know, this is, we're talking about 30, 40 years here. I mean, it's happened. It's no longer about trying to stop climate change. We are in its throes now. We can see the floods that are more than floods, the droughts that are more than droughts, the fires that are more than fires, the storms that are more than storms, the death of soil, the places, the temperatures becoming uninhabitable, the melting of the poles, the glaciers that feed the Ganges, for God's sake. We can see it all around us. So it's happening, but there is still a narrow window that humankind can make some course directions and mitigate the worst impacts, the worst consequences of what we've unleashed. So then, so there are right now in this moment, this, you know, they're like this week, this month, there are encouraging trends in the world. And there have not been many times where we have said this. And one of the encouraging trends was that the United States Congress passed the current administration's huge climate action bill, which like close to it, it's like, I don't know, 700 billion or something like that, of money that they're going to pump into sustainable and renewable energy and all kinds of climate-related measures. Now, is it enough? Of course it's not enough. But it's the most it's ever been passed, the most it's ever been spent. There's nothing like near it in the history. No other country, and certainly not this country in history, has ever put this much into it. So it's a turning point. And so the discussion then becomes not, have we done, is it enough? Of course it's not enough, but we've gone from, climate change isn't real, yes it is, to, are we doing enough? No, we're not doing enough. But that's a different conversation. That's a healthier conversation to have. And at the same time, so that's a big shift for this country. And at the same time, in the Brazilian elections, a huge climate denier and enabler of predatory capitalism in terms of deforesting the Amazon, etc., lost. And the incoming administration is much more committed to climate action. And in fact, the incoming president of Brazil, Lula, is working with the leaders of Indonesia and Brazil, and they're going to form a rainforest OPEC, where they're going to leverage because they control most of the rainforest in the world, and that's the oxygen, those are the lungs of Gaia. So they're going to start trying to dictate terms rather than the other way around. This is a big shift. These are not insignificant steps forward. And right now in Cairo, COP27 is meeting. Don't necessarily look for much to come out of all the talking and the speechifying and everything else, but just know that there is a shift going on in the world. And we are part of that shift. And I was laughing because the president stopped by COP27 on his way to the G7 or G2, anyway, I think it's 27. And he said in his speech, quote, "The science is devastatingly clear. We have to make vital progress by the end of this decade. That's why the United States is rallying the world around climate game changers." So, I was just going to say that the president and I are on the same page, and the page is from this book, as he said, within this last decade. So I thought, well, that's the first time in my memory of many decades where I could feel like, I was on the same page in terms of literally the number of years we have to make some significant change. So there's something in all of that for us. Oh, good, that was only 8 minutes. Yeah. So then, Aristotle. Square. Plato and Aristotle, both pretty square. The pre-Platonics were much more interesting, and the Neoplatonists were much more interesting. But anyway, Aristotle wrote in 300-something BC, Poetics, his Poetics and Politics. And they sit there in every library, and everybody pays homage. No one ever reads them because they're so square, but they are foundational to the story that Western civilization tells about itself as it goes forward from ancient Greece, right? Aristotle, Politics, and Poetics. So they were there at the beginning of a long arc that brought so much to us this last 2 millennia, right? From the Sistine Chapel to the Hubble telescope, from the illuminated manuscript in Irish monasteries to global communications through social media on your iPhone, from Beethoven's Fifth to the life-saving science of vaccines. But this is life. There is evolution and devolution. And this 2,000 years includes pathologies: misogyny, racism, oligarchy, patriarchy, weapons of mass destruction, and overshadowing all of them, anthropogenic climate disruption. Have you ever heard that phrase? Anthropogenic climate disruption. That's actually a much more accurate term for climate change or global warming. Anthropogenic in the sense that humans have done this. Not a volcano, not a comet, not some nonsense about the natural cycles of the planet cooling and the planet warming. No, this was us. We did this. And we didn't just do it with the burning of fossil fuels, although that's a real issue. We did it with deforestation, we did it with overpopulation, and we did it with our appetite for meat and how we do agriculture on a mass level. I would say those are the four big things. Some people would argue, but it's not just burning fossil fuel, but that's a really good place to start. So here we are. The genius that was unlocked in this long arc of Western civilization has now far eclipsed our sanity and our conscience, and we're destroying the very thing, the global climate, the balance of the global climate that this civilization was predicated on, by punching holes in it and jacking up the heat. So we are at a moment, and that's where the phrase Gaian Poetics came to me from. And that's where the phrase Gaian Politics came to me from. It's like, okay, Aristotle, we need a new way to think about our language and our governance. Right? Our language and our governance. So Gaian Poetics, it's not just writing beautiful things about nature. I mean, that's wonderful. That's always to be done. And Gaian Politics isn't just activism or environmentalism. I'm talking about something else, and I'll read you a little bit about that. So we're at a crossroads now. This must win 10-year stretch, and in the course of writing the first of these 3 books, Words, which is actually 5 books altogether in one volume, they'll call you the phrases Gaian Poetics and Gaian Politics. By Gaian Poetics and Gaian Politics, I meant an internal shift within us, each of us. Gaia isn't a goddess, it isn't a statue, it isn't something we pray to, it isn't some a divine being who has a rulership over this planet or something like that. Gaia is this planet. Gaia is this planet, and we're not her children. You know, we're not Gaia's children. We're not Gaia's children. We are Gaia's cells. And we're not Gaia's steward. You know, whenever anybody starts talking about me, they mean well. But whenever people start talking to me about being stewards of nature, I get very uncomfortable. Because that's how this whole thing started. This whole, you're not the stewards of anything. You are cells of a vast planetary being, right? So, Gaia, I'll read you 3 short things. Go ahead. There's a long story that goes to this, but I will spare you that. All set up. ways. Yeah. So, we're not Gaia's children, we're not Gaia's stewards, we are part of her, along with all the other species, and all the trees and the rocks and the minerals and everything else. Yeah. Sorry for the delay. Sentience is in some ways the mystery of mysteries. Gaia dreams her world dream, and within her world dream, the dreams of the whales dreaming their world dreams, and the humans dreaming their world dreams. Yes, our world dreams are utterly dependent upon hers. They arise within her, and they are reabsorbed into her. Likewise, the world dreams of the tree frogs, the world dreams of the salmon, the world dreams of the madrones, the world dreams of the emeralds. Gaia herself is a sentient being, and all life on the planet, shamanic truth. This is a scientific truth. So, okay, so I'll just hold that thought for a minute. Our friend Joe Miller, the legendary American sage, every once in a while he said this. He didn't say this often, but every once in a while he threw this out there. At some future time and place, we'll have grown to a stature within our body where our bodies can be an entire planet, and all the humanity the same as the particles within our physical bodies now. We'll know about all of that when life itself is love. Every once in a while I will talk about this, that we are on our arc of human evolution, if we don't go the other way, you evolve into celestial beings, meaning not, some myths, meaning, the literal intelligence, star, whatever kind of intelligence a planet is, whatever kind of intelligence a star is, we evolve into these different realms of intelligence. And the planet, so I was thinking about that in terms of the Gaian science that is coming out from people like Boner and James Lovelock and other people whose work is very important to me. And to some of us here, I'm sure. So yeah, Boner writes in Plant Intelligence, which is an incredible book, Plant Intelligence in the Imaginal Realm, that the world is alive, intelligent, aware, communicative, filled with soul, that we are not alone, that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, that we are companioned by millions and millions of related life forms, and that the dead mechanical world we have been taught about in school does not exist and never has. So Gaia, the planet itself, a divine intelligence, self-organizing, they call it a self-organizing being of divine intelligence. And we are all of that. That's why when you go, the Japanese talk about, they call it forest bathing. That's why you feel so renewed when you enter into a true forest. Because that's, she did. This is like a powerful sorceress mixing some tonic for you to drink, some medicine for you to take. That's what a forest is. So that is on the arc of human evolution for each person as they go deeper into the awareness of the nature of reality. And to have, to deal with the current crisis in the world, we have to unlock our Gaian poetics in our Gaian politics. What is Gaian politics? I'm not talking about activism, environmentalism, it's all vital, all essential. I'm talking about that at all. I mean, the Iroquois, we've founded our Constitution selectively on what the Iroquois had, and took some very good ideas from it, left some very good ideas that made the founding fathers uncomfortable. But part of it was, by the way, a matriarchy. And the Senate was the grandmothers. You know, the leader could be impeached by the Senate, but the Senate was like a circle of grandmothers of the tribes. And every decision about governance was made with 7 generations in mind. What can we conceive about what will be the impacts and consequences of this decision 7 generations down the road? That's, can the ruling principle, the imperative of governance be altruism? Can the imperative of government be sustainability? Those two imperatives, altruism and sustainability.
Steve Thomas.
Gaian politics. So then I'll read you one more thing. We'll be done with this.
Steve Thomas.
Oh, is this one?
Which one should I read? Which one should I read? Gaia is a mistress of disguises. She has a safe deposit box in the central bank of the cosmos. She has stashed many passports under fabricated identities, from Tara to Zeus, to Isis to Thor. She has stashed bundles of cash in all the world's currencies. She has stashed pouches of brilliant diamonds and fat bricks of gold and platinum. This treasure allows her to cross any border and do business in any country. Her true identity is the earth itself. She is the divine intelligence of the planet. All life thriving within the thin sheath of atmosphere she has spun around this globe is hers. We not only live, move, and have our being in her, our being itself is hers. We are her at the cellular level. We are the strands of her hair, the drops of her blood. We are her very embodiment, every tree, every mountain, every human, every whale, every insect, every mushroom, every cloud, every mongoose, every body of water, every forest, everything and every order of magnitude, from the microcosm to the macrocosm, all of this hers, our sentience. The chi that animates us all of this is literally her, the force. Life, not beyond life, not life after death, life. This world, not some other world, not the next world, this world. But not a dream of this world, not a dream of this world. No, the reality of it all, here and now, from before and beyond, and always on and on. Gaia, Shakti, Lilith, dark goddess, Durga Ma, Madonna, Isis, so many names for the divine intelligence, revealing herself ceaselessly. To celebrate her, to serve her, embodied as she is in life and the world, this is our true purpose. To feast on her and be fed to her, this is the pathless path. To alleviate or at least mitigate suffering, to see clearly what it is, to discern the reality of what is, and so live and move freely. This is the true story of it all. To know her, we must know ourselves. To know ourselves, we must know her. Each atom is a temple of her celebration, each strand of hair, each cell, each leaf, each drop of rain, each blossom, each pool of molten lava, each wasp nest, each coconut, each tortoise, each hunk of amoseth, each heap of yak dung, each glacier, each of the 5 bodies that constitute every single human incarnation, all temples, in which she is celebrated ceaselessly, simply by being fully and truly ourselves. She is the divine intelligence within all of this. There is a unique architecture for each class of these seemingly infinite temples. To know ourselves is to know her. So that's too much. So I wanted to bring you a message of something other than fear, anxiety about the future of the planet and the future of our individual journeys on the surface of this planet. Thank you.